Hey folks, it's Fernando doing another video for More Survivalists. I was checking some of the comments of my previous video about Scottish independence. Pretty happy with all the feedback and comments that I've been getting. I thought about doing another video, basically 5 points as of why I at least would vote for yes. I would vote for a free independent Scotland. And this is basically because of one of my viewers that says, I'm actually from Scotland and I want to vote yes. But I'm having a tug of war between my head and my heart. It's so unfair that there is still so much uncertainty on what would happen if we vote yes, which is what Westminster wants. Makes me so angry. Okay, so let's quickly get to it. 5 points. The first one is actually one that you're making here reference to yourself. Maybe finding the answer to these questions that you have, which when you say which is what Westminster wants. Okay, first point is understanding the propaganda, understanding what you're basically being bombarded through the media, overwhelmingly against the independence, and there's a reason for that. The No campaign is internally known as Project Fear. What's the idea of the No campaign dash Project Fear? Well, just that, install this fear, this uncertainty, this idea of catastrophic possibilities if there's a vote for yes, if there's a free independent Scotland. It could be this could happen, that could happen. Some of the things that I've mentioned in my previous video, for example, the idea that if Scotland becomes independent, there would be like a border, like checkpoints between England and Scotland, which is completely ridiculous because you don't have those between the nations of the European Union anyway. You can drive from Spain to France. I've done so before many times. There's no checkpoint. You don't even stop your car. You don't even slow down. And maybe you just read a sign in French and then you realize you're in France. There's no checkpoint. There's none of that. And you have an even better example of how ridiculous and fear-mongering this proposition is. You don't have one between Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland, which are two separate countries. You drive through all across Ireland without ever going through a checkpoint anywhere. Why would there be one between Scotland and England or Wales? Doesn't make any sense, but it's part of this propaganda, this idea of installing fear. We're going to be scaring people so much that they're not going to be voting for independence. Another common tactic is they ridiculize those involved with the Yes campaign, making even fun physically of Salmon about him being fat or having a big head, which is kind of sad, but that's one of the things they do. They also focus only on negative news. They find negative stuff to say about the Yes campaign. I think it was about a rate of 3-1. They start with a negative news, they kind of make a counter argument, and they finalize again with another negative aspect or negative point of view of the topic. Well, it's understandable that you will be getting this from the BBC, from all these media outlets that have a very clear, obvious vested interest in retaining that market, retaining that income that they have. It's in their best interest to sway you to think and vote, most importantly, in a certain way. And you have to understand that these media companies, they have their big bosses, their heads are very much interested in keeping control over Scotland. They don't want to be losing that. They don't like the idea of that. All right. So that would be point number one. Understanding that a lot of what you're being told is very much biased towards convincing you that it's dangerous, that it's catastrophic, that it cannot be done, or that you will be suffering awful miseries if you vote for independence. Okay. Point number two that I think it's very important to understand is this is not about Salmon. This is not about Alex Salmon as a politician. We're talking about a man here who's not going to be around forever. He's going to be dying eventually. Your vote for independence is going to be pretty much permanent. It's not going to be this is not about one politician having success or not. Even though, going back to point number one, this is in many ways what the media wants you to believe. You're voting for a certain person. You're not voting for anyone in particular. You're not voting for anyone at all. You're voting for a free independent country or not. That's what you're voting for, and don't let the media bias let you believe that anything else besides that is at play here. Whatever politician, whatever political party actually is running things right now, it's going to be having a limited period of time in power. You're going to be voting for someone else, going to be being replaced. That's not the important thing that's going to be changing once you vote for yes or no. Moving on to point number 3. About another common thing that is being spread by the media is the idea of if you vote for independence, you're going to be losing your identity. You're going to be losing your British culture. You're going to be losing your bonds. None of that is true at all. It's a complete lie, actually. You're not going to be, because you vote for independence, you're not going to be moving where you live. You're not going to be living anywhere else. Your country's not going to be disappearing and floating in some limbo. You're still going to be in the same place. The post office is going to be still in the same place. Your school's going to be in the same place. And you're going to be driving back and forth to London how many times you desire to do so. Your cultural legacy is not in any way attacked by being independent or not. You're not losing in any way your identity. If anything, you're in many ways regaining a little bit of that legacy of being an independent country on its own right, which I think it's pretty valuable. I think it's important to have that as a country, as a free nation, have that certainty that you don't only just have your legacy, your culture, your things, your habits, what identifies you as a Scot. It's also having the certainty that when it comes down to making your decisions yourself, you also have that freedom, you also have that independence, and you don't have to go ask for permission to London to see what you can or cannot do in your own country, which is pretty much the big point here in this election. Okay, then moving to point number 4 about not being able to do it. You cannot afford to be an independent country. You're much better together, the better together thing, because when they say we're better together is you're not better off on your own. That's indirectly what they're saying. Another huge lie. It's pretty clear that if Scotland becomes an independent country, it will immediately be one of the richest countries in the world. But forget about that for a second. Don't even think about numbers, about money, about oil, about land, about people, resources, technology, which Scotland has all of that in abundance. It's more than capable. Think about this for a second. Think about Switzerland. How big or small is Switzerland compared to Scotland? How much land do they have? How much sea do they have? How much oil do they have? How much wind industry? How much everything does Switzerland has compared to Scotland? And it's still one of the most prosperous nations with one of the best quality of life. Switzerland, I've done this, I've studied this a lot for my book Out And Relocating, which is of course available in Amazon. Switzerland, in spite of how small it is, it's one of the most prosperous, and one of the key aspect here, one of the best quality of lives. That's what's most important for you, for every one of us, for individuals. Quality of life is key. How much are you enjoying life? How much possibilities do you have in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of your environment? How rich of a life do you have? Switzerland has that, in spite of being so small compared to Scotland. Scotland, with the potential it has, Scotland may not look like a huge country compared to the United States, Canada, but if you compare it to other European countries, it would be a pretty big country in comparison to some of the smaller ones. All right. So this idea that you cannot do it on your own is part of this project fear thing of, oh, now we're going to be losing jobs, we're going to be so miserable, we're going to be struggling so much. Absolute lie. There's no way that Scotland would that Scotland is incapable of being a completely free, independent country that strives on its own. That's just part of the propaganda that we were making reference to in the beginning. Finally, the last point I'd like to finish this video with is one thing that I've seen mentioned a lot in the previous video in the comment section about why fix what is not broken. Okay, why be free if you're okay as you are right now, right? Well, it's not. You're not trying to fix what it's not broken, and you're not already free. All right. The point of this vote, yes or no, is precisely that. Okay, it's not true that you're already an independent country. That's why you're voting for yes or no, because you're deciding if you want to be an independent country or not. So it's not true that you're already a free independent country. You're not. You may be if you vote for yes, all right, but that's, as of right now, it's still to be decided. Now, about why fix what's not broken, well, that's kind of a lazy way of viewing things. Why be free when you can be a slave and comfortably sit and be I mean, if you're going to be settling for that, you would be just better off in a jail. You would be fed 3 meals a day. You would have a roof over your head, and you would be maybe safer than out there in the street taking risks. Correct? Well, yeah, but you're not free. You're in a freaking jail. All right. So why would people? If the question is why people want to be free, because that's what we strive for as individuals. That's one of our unavoidable desires as human beings. We want to have that. We want to have that liberty, that freedom of choice of what we do or we don't do. In terms of Scotland, they want to have the choice of deciding what's best for them or not. They want to decide what they put in their own land, if they want to engage in wars with different countries or not. They want that to be their own decision and no one else making it for them. All right. They believe that as Scot people, they are better off making those decisions for themselves rather than having to ask for permission to London to see if they're going to be allowed that or not. One other thing that I was reading in the comment section was, well, but you're not going to be free anyway. You're going to be part of the European Union. Well, actually, that's still to be decided, because one of the arguments that the No campaign was trying to make was that if you become an independent country, you still have to be voted into the European Union. The No campaign was saying that the moment Scotland becomes a free independent country, it will not be part of the European Union, which may, you know, if you become an independent country, all of a sudden a new country, it has to be voted into the European Union. It will be voted into the European Union. It will, Scotland, if it wishes to be so, if it wishes so, it will be part of the European Union. And at the same time, UK is already part of the European Union anyway, so you're already in Europe. It's not as if you're gonna be having less freedom for being free. All right, it's not as if you're gonna be having less independence for when you vote for independence. All right, again, the little tricks and subtle lies used many times by the No campaign, trying to sway the vote to one side. So when you hear these things, another thing mentioned a lot is this doesn't even matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, why are people so interested in, especially prime ministers, so much interested, and politicians from London so interested in retaining Scotland? And Scotland is so incapable of doing things on its own. And Scotland is so poor, so bad at running things themselves. Why is it that they want to retain Scotland themselves? Why is it that they want to keep Scotland and not have them be an independent country? If you look around in countries that are a mess, in countries that no one wants, no one is fighting over adding them to their own nation. All right, it's actually the good, prosperous countries that people want to retain. So yeah, and basically at the end of the day, these are all ways, I mean, points I'm trying to help out my viewer there about deciding for yes or no, about deciding with doing things with your head or doing things with your heart. I think that it makes complete absolute sense from a financial prosperity point of view. I think an independent Scotland without any single doubt would be very prosperous and would have at the very least a few first years of of booming, and which has to be controlled, has to be handled carefully. You cannot abuse that boom, that success that you will without a doubt have when you become an independent country. You have to regulate that in terms of not letting some of the big world players abuse that possibility of doing business and such. But from the mind point of view, from the head point of view, as my viewer was saying, it makes a lot of sense. It's obviously a good choice. And from the heart point of view, about being free, about being independent, about finally being a free, independent Scotland, it's something that people, as I said in the previous video, people have died, fought. People today still fight and are willing to die for that freedom that you now can have just with a vote. All right, Americans know this. Any other country that fought for its liberty, for its freedom, knows this. You have people, as I was saying today, picking up a rifle, trying to fight for their liberty, for their freedom. As of right now, you can decide that with a simple yes. I'm brave enough to be free. I'm brave enough to be independent. I'm brave enough to take responsibility for my own decisions. All right, I wouldn't dare vote no. I wouldn't have the guts to say no. It was just too dangerous. It was just. I mean, I wouldn't be able, to look at my kids to their face and say, yeah, I didn't have the guts to be free. I didn't have the guts to grant your own kids, your own children, that freedom, that liberty. When the moment comes to vote for yes or no, you will have if you vote for yes and Scotland becomes a free independent country, you will be part of those that had the guts, had the courage to be free. If you vote no, I don't know, it would be it would be kind of sad, I think. Thinking of it, at least from this is the Modern Survivalist channel. This is we have a certain appreciation for liberty and freedom that maybe not everyone else has. I like the idea of personal liberties. I like the idea of being as free as possible. Whenever I have the possibility of voting for freedom, whenever I have the possibility for voting for more independence and more control for myself, I don't doubt a single second about that. That's what I do, because I feel very strongly about liberty and freedom. Folks, that's all for now. Just my opinion on the topic. At the end of the day, it's great that Scots will be able to decide themselves if they vote for yes or no, if they become an independent country or not. Guys, take care. Share this video with others. Maybe my friend, a YouTube viewer that was having doubts about voting yes or no, maybe you want to share this with other people that may be in that point of not knowing quite what to do as of right now. Take care, good luck, have a great day, see you on our next video.